Hello, children, and welcome to Halloween Tales. I'm going to be reading you 3 scary tales, each one more terrifying than the last. These tales come from the winners of the Junior School Writing Competition 2013. So sit back and enjoy the ghouly readings. And remember, it's okay to scream.
Behind the Scenes of an Election by Ben Darbyshire, from Year 6 and the overall winner of the Junior School Writing Competition 2013. The car lowered. He woke up. His head had a piercing pain through it. He looked out the window. He was dangling over a pool in his car. He screamed and jumped to the window. The door was locked. He saw a man he paid debt to. He looked around. His hands were trembling. He had beads of sweat dripping from his hair onto his face. He had tears rolling down his cheeks. He was scared. He looked at the back of the car as it lowered closer to the water. He found a box. It said, "Help." He clambered over the front seats. His heart beat extra hard. He opened the box. Spiders poured out. They ran around the car and up his arms into his shirt. He let out a scream and puked. The green liquid pooled on the back seat. He saw his breakfast and lunch. In replace for it, he got nerves. He was as nervous as hell. He cried out, screamed, banged on the windows. He was crying even more now. He slammed the chair in frustration. He wriggled round as spiders dug their fangs into his chest. He jumped into the front seat and honked the horn. The car was getting even lower. The man looked around, once again in desperation. He leaned over and opened the glove box. Lizards wriggled out. He jumped back and smashed into the door. There were so many lizards. They crawled everywhere, in his pants, on the roof, under seats. He looked up. A dead snake hung from the roof. The man screamed once more. He was terrified. The car was starting to hit the water. The wheels dipped the water as the crane lowered the old car into the ice-cold pool. The water came up from the doors and gaps that had been cut while he was knocked out. He was even more scared. He crawled his way to the back of the car. He ripped the boot cover off. In the back was a group of slimy, horrible, blue and white octopi. He pushed himself back to the front, only to land on a python that had come up from under the front seat. The python wrapped itself around the incredibly terrified man. He was crying, vomiting up on himself and hyperventilating. The water was up to his knees. The octopi were now floating round the car. The screaming man tore himself away from the python and leapt onto the top of a chair. He bashed the sunroof until his knuckles bled and had little glass shards stabbing them. He screamed out and kicked the horn one final time until he fell onto the chair. He had passed out. When the man in a blue tie opened his eyes, he had floated to the top of the car. There was only around 30 centimeters between him and the roof, the rest of his life. As he gasped for air in the pitch-black car, spiders fell into his open mouth. The littler ones wriggled as far as they could into his ear. Lizards fell onto his face and then rolled off into the quickly gaining water. He could feel the dreaded octopus hit his back as they swam freely round the car. He yelled again for help, but the water engulfed his face and head quickly. Kevin Rudd was drowning. Tony Abbott smiled. He opened a bag of car-shaped cookies. His watery mouth engulfed the cookie car. As he crunched, he felt a slimy texture rush down his throat. It felt like a tiny octopus. He felt extra bits of crunch. Tony looked down at the packet. It seemed normal. Or was it? He kept asking himself. Tony put the bag down on the table and left it there. He stared at it for a while. Then he dug in. Again. The end.